Virtual Books Publisher presents The Fortune Teller by Machado de Assis. Hamlet notes to Horatio that there are more things in heaven and earth than our philosophy dreams of. It was the same explanation that the beautiful Rita gave to the young man Camilo on a Friday, November 1869, when he laughed at her for having gone to consult a fortune teller the day before. The difference is that he did it in other words. Laugh, laugh. Men are like that. They don't believe in anything. Well, you should know that I went, and that she guessed the reason for the consultation even before I told her what it was. She just started laying out the cards. She said to me, "Do you like someone?" I confessed that I did, and then she continued, laying out the cards, combining them, and in the end he told me that I was afraid you would forget me, but that it wasn't true. You made a mistake. Camilo interrupted, laughing. "Don't say that, Camilo. If you knew how I've been because of you, you know I've already told you. Don't laugh at me, don't laugh." Camilo took her hands and looked at her seriously and fixedly. He swore that he loved her very much, that her fears seemed like those of a child. In any case, when she had some, I'm afraid the best fortune teller was himself. Then he reprimanded her. He told her it was unwise to go around those houses. Vilela could know it. And then, what do you know? I was very careful when I entered the house. Where is the house? Nearby on Rua da Guardavella. No one was passing by at that time. Don't worry, I'm not crazy. Camilo laughed again. Do you really believe these things? He asked him. It was then that she, without knowing that she was translating Hamlet into vulgar language, told him that there were many things mysterious and true in this world. If he did not believe her, so be it. But the truth is that the fortune teller had guessed everything. What else? The proof is that she was now calm and satisfied. I think he was going to speak, but he held back. I didn't want to tear away his illusions. He too, as a child and even later, was superstitious, had a whole arsenal of superstitions, which his mother instilled in him and which disappeared at the age of 20, the day he let all this parasitic vegetation fall, and only the trunk of religion remained. As he had received both teachings from his mother, he involved them in the same doubt, and soon after, in a single total denial. Camilo didn't believe in anything. Why? Couldn't to say it, he did not have a single argument. He limited himself to denying everything. And I say wrong, because to deny is still to affirm. And he did not formulate incredulity. Before the mystery, he contented himself with shrugging his shoulders and walking away. They parted happily, he even more than she. Rita was certain that she was loved. Camilo, not only was she, but he saw her trembling and risking herself for him, running to fortune tellers, and however much he reprimanded her, he could not help but feel flattered. The meeting place was on the old Rua dos Barbonos, where a fellow citizen of Rita lived. She went down Rua das Mangueiras towards Botafogo, where she lived. Camilo went down Rua da Guardavella, glancing at the fortune teller's house in passing. Vilela, Camilo, and Rita, 3 names, 1 adventure, and no explanation of their origins. Let's go to it. The first 2 were childhood friends. Vilela pursued a career of magistrate. Camilo entered the civil service against the wishes of his father, who wanted to see him become a doctor, but his father died, and Camilo preferred to be nothing until his mother got him a public job. At the beginning of 1869, Vilela returned from the province, where he had married a beautiful and foolish lady, abandoned the judiciary, and came to open law firm. Camilo found him a house near Botafogo and went on board to welcome him. "Is it you?" exclaimed Rita, extending her hand. "You can't imagine how my husband is your friend. He always spoke of you." Camilo and Vilela looked at each other tenderly. They were truly friends. Afterwards, Camilo confessed to himself that Vilela's wife did not deny her husband's letters. She was truly graceful and lively in her gestures, with warm eyes and a thin mouth, and interrogative. She was a little older than both of them. She was 30, Vilela 29, and Camilo 26. However, Vilela's serious bearing made him seem older than his wife, while Camilo was naive in moral and practical life. He lacked both the action of time and the crystal glasses that nature provides, in the cradle of some to advance the years. Neither experience nor intuition. The three of them got together. Living together brought intimacy. Shortly after, Camilo's mother died, and in this disaster, which was what it was, the two of them became great friends with him. Vilela took care of the burial, the suffrages, and the inventory. Rita took special care of the heart, and no one could do it better. How they came to love from there, he never knew. The truth is that he liked to spend time with her. She was his moral nurse, almost a sister, but mainly, she was a woman and beautiful. The odor of femininity. That was what he aspired to in her, and around her, to incorporate it into himself. They read the same books, went to the theater together, and walks. Camilo taught her checkers and chess, and they played at night. She badly, he to please her a little less badly. So far so good. Now the action of the person, Rita's stubborn eyes which often sought his, which she consulted before doing so to her husband, her cold hands, her unusual attitudes. One day on his birthday, he received a rich cane as a gift from Vilela, and from Rita only a card with a vulgar greeting in pencil, and it was then that he was able to read it on his own heart. I couldn't take my eyes off the note. Vulgar words, but there are sublime or at least delightful vulgarities. The old carriage in the square, in that for the first time you walked with the woman you love, both of you close together. It is worth the chariot of Apollo. That is how man is. That is how the things that surround him are. Camilo sincerely wanted to run away, but he couldn't anymore. Rita, like a snake, approached him, wrapped her arms around him, made his bones crack in a spasm, and dripped blood on him, the poison in his mouth. He was stunned and subdued. Embarrassment, fear, remorse, desires. He felt everything mixed together. But the battle was short and the victory delirious. Goodbye, scruples. It didn't take long for the shoe to fit on the foot, and then they both went down the road, arms linked, stepping easily over grass and stones without, to suffer nothing more than some longing, when they were absent from each other. Vilela's confidence and esteem remained the same. One day, however, Camilo received an anonymous letter, which called him immoral and perfidious, and said that the affair was known to everyone. Camilo was afraid, and, to divert suspicions, visits to Vilela's house began to become rarer. He noticed his absences. Camilo replied that the reason was a frivolous boyish passion. Candor generated cunning. The absences grew longer, and the visits ceased altogether. Perhaps there was also a bit of self-love involved, an intention to lessen the gifts from the husband to make the treachery of the act less harsh. It was around this time that Rita, suspicious and fearful, ran to the fortune-teller to consult her about the true cause of Camilo's procedure. We saw that the fortune-teller restored her confidence and that the boy scolded her for doing what she did. A few more weeks passed. Camilo received 2 or 3 more anonymous letters as passionate, which could not be a warning of virtue but spite towards some suitor. Such was Rita's opinion, who in other poorly composed words formulated this thought: virtue is lazy and stingy. It wastes neither time nor paper. Only interest is active and prodigal. Camilo was not at ease because of this. He feared that the anonymous man would go to Vilela, and the catastrophe would then come without remedy. Rita agreed that it was possible. Well, she said, I take the envelopes to compare the handwriting with that of the letters that appear there. If any of them are the same, I'll keep them and tear them up. None appeared. But after some time, Vilela began to appear gloomy, speaking little, as if suspicious. Rita hurried to tell the other, and about this deliberated. Her opinion is that Camilo should return to their house, feel up her husband, and perhaps even hear his confidence about some private business. Camilo diverged. Appearing after so many months was to confirm the suspicion or denunciation. It was better to be cautious, sacrificing themselves for a few weeks. They agreed on the means to correspond with each other in case of need, and they parted with tears. The next day, while he was at the office, Camilo received this note from Vilela. Come to our house right now. I need to talk to you without delay. It was afternoon. Camilo he left immediately. On the street, he noticed that it would have been more natural to call him to the office. Why at home? Everything indicated special matter, and the letter, whether Reality or illusion seemed trembling to him. He combined all these things with the news of the day before. "Come now to our house. I need to talk to you without delay," he repeated with his eyes on the paper. Imaginarily, he saw the tip of the ear of a drama, Rita subdued and tearful, Vilela indignant, taking the pen and writing the note, certain that he would come to his aid and waiting for you to kill him. Camilo shivered, he was afraid. Then he smiled weakly, and in any case he was repulsed by the idea of retreating, and he continued walking. On the way, he remembered to go home. I could find some message from Rita that would explain everything to him. He found nothing, nor anyone. He returned to the street, and the idea of being discovered increasingly plausible. An anonymous complaint was natural, even from the very person who had threatened him before. It could be that Vilela now knew everything. The same suspension of his visits without apparent reason, just with a futile pretext, would confirm the rest. Camilo walked restlessly and nervously. I didn't reread the note, but the words were memorized, before my eyes, fixed. Or else, which was even worse, they were whispered in Vilela's own ear. "Come now to our house. I need to speak to you without delay." Said like this in the other's voice, they had a mysterious tone and threat. Come now, why? It was around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The commotion grew by the minute. He imagined so much what would happen that he came to believe it and see him. He was positively afraid. He began to consider going armed, considering that if there was nothing he would lose nothing and the precaution was useful. Soon after he rejected the idea, ashamed of himself, and continued, picking up his pace towards Largo de Carioca, to get into a carriage. He arrived, got in, and ordered us to continue at a fast trot. The sooner the better, he thought. I can't be like this, but the horse's trotting made his emotion worse. Time flew by, and he would soon realize the danger. Almost at the end of Rua de Guardavella, the carriage had to stop. The street was blocked by a cart that had fallen over. Camilo in himself estimated the obstacle and waited. After 5 minutes, he noticed that on the left side, next to the carriage, was the fortune-teller's house whom Rita had consulted once, and never had he wanted so much to believe in the lesson of the cards. He looked, he saw the closed windows when all the others were open and full of curious onlookers of the incident in the street. It was like the home of indifferent destiny. Camilo leaned back in the carriage so as not to see anything. His agitation was great, extraordinary. And from the depths of the moral layers some ghosts of another time emerged. The old beliefs, the old superstitions. The coachman suggested that he return to the first crossing and go another way. He replied no, to wait. And he leaned to stare at the house. Then he made an incredulous gesture. It was the idea of listening to the fortune-teller who passed by him in the distance, very far away, with vast gray wings. It disappeared, reappeared, and faded away again in the brain. But soon after it moved its wings again, closer, making concentric turns. In the street, the men shouted, escaping. The cart. "Come on! Now! Push! Go! Go!" Soon the obstacle would be removed. Camilo closed his eyes, thinking about other things, but her husband's voice whispered in her ears the words of the letter. "Come now. And he saw the contortions of the drama and trembled. The house looked at him. His legs wanted to go down and enter. Camilo found himself before a long, opaque veil. He quickly thought about the inexplicable nature of so many things. His mother's voice repeated to him a number of extraordinary stories, and the same phrase from the Prince of Denmark echoed to him, inside. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in philosophy. What would he lose if... He found himself on the sidewalk, near the door. He told the coachman to wait, and quickly went down the corridor and up the stairs. The light was dim, the steps eaten away by the feet, the sticky handrail, but he saw and felt nothing. He climbed and hit. When no one appeared, he had the idea of going down, but it was too late. Curiosity was getting the better of him. His blood, his temples throbbed. He knocked again once, twice, 3 times. A woman came. It was the fortune-teller. Camilo said he was going to consult her. She let him in. From there they went up to the attic, via a staircase that was even worse than the first and darker. Upstairs there was a small room, dimly lit by a window, which looked out onto the roof of the funds. Old junk, dark walls, an air of poverty, which rather increased than destroyed prestige. The fortune teller made him sit in front of the table and sat on the opposite side, with his back to the window, so that the little light from outside hit, his face full on. Camilo. He opened a drawer and took out a deck of long, dirty cards. As he shuffled them quickly, he looked at him, not in the face, but from below, of the eyes. She was a woman of 40, Italian, dark and thin, with large, sharp, sly eyes. She turned 3 cards over on the table and said to him, "Let's see first what brings you here. You have a big scare." Camilo, amazed, made an affirmative gesture. "And you want to know," she continued, "whether something will happen to him or not?" "Me and her," he explained briskly. The fortune teller did not smile. "I just told him to wait." He quickly picked up the cards again and shuffled them with his long, thin fingers with their neglected nails. Shuffled them well. She crossed the bundles, once, twice, 3 times. Then she began to spread them out. Camilo had his eyes on her, curious and anxious. "The letters tell me," Camilo leaned in to drink in the words one by one. Then she declared to him that he should not be afraid of anything. Nothing would happen to either one. He, the third, ignored everything. However, great caution was essential. Envy and spite boiled. He told her about the love that connected them, about Rita's beauty. Camilo was dazzled. The fortune teller finished, collected the cards and closed them in the drawer. "You have restored peace to my spirit," he said, reaching across the table and shaking the fortune teller's hand. She stood up, laughing. "Go," she said, "go, ragazzo innamorato." And standing with his index finger, he touched his forehead. Camilo shuddered as if it were the hand of the Sibyl herself, and stood up as well. The fortune teller went to the dresser, which was a plate with raisins, took a bunch of them, began to tear them off and eat them, showing 2 rows of teeth that belied his nails. In that same common action, the woman had a particular air. Camilo, anxious to leave, did not know how to pay. He ignored the price. "Raisins cost money," he said finally, taking out his wallet. "How many do you want to send for?" "Ask your heart," she replied. Camilo took out a 10,000 raise note and gave it to her. The fortune teller's eyes lit up. The usual price was 2,000 raise. "I can see that you like her very much, and that's right, she likes you very much. Go, don't worry. Look at the stairs, they're dark. Put on your hat." The fortune teller had already put the note in her pocket and was going down with him, speaking with a slight accent. Camilo said goodbye to her downstairs and went down the stairs that led to the street, while the fortune teller, happy with the payment, returned upstairs, humming a barcarolle. Camilo found the carriage waiting. The street was free. He entered and followed to Trout Wide. Everything seemed better to him now. Other things had a different aspect. The sky was clear and the faces were young. He even laughed at his fears, which he called childish, recalled the terms of Vilela's letter, and recognized that they were intimate and familiar. Where had he discovered the threat to her? He also warned that they were urgent, and that he had done wrong to take so long. It could be some serious and very serious business. "Come on, let's go quickly," he repeated to the coachman, and he came up with something to explain the delay to his friend. It seems that he also formed a plan to take advantage of the incident, to return to his previous assiduity. Back with his plans, the fortune teller's words echoed in his soul. In truth, she had guessed the object of the inquiry, his condition, the existence of a third party. Why wouldn't you guess the rest? The present that is ignored is worth the future. It was like this, slowly and steadily, that the boy's old beliefs were coming to the surface, and the mystery excited him with its iron nails. Sometimes he wanted to laugh, and he laughed at himself, somewhat embarrassed. But the woman, the letters, the dry and affirmative words, the exhortation, "Go, ragazzo innamorato," and at the end, in the distance, the barcarolle of farewell, slow and graceful. Such were the recent elements which formed with the ancient ones a new and lively faith. The truth is that his heart was happy and impatient, thinking of the happy times of the past and those that were yet to come. As he passed by Gloria, Camilo looked at the sea. He stretched his eyes outwards to where the water and the sky form an infinite embrace, and thus had a sensation of the future, long, long, endless. Soon he arrived at Vilela's house. He got out, pushed open the iron door to the garden and went in. The house was silent. He climbed the 6 stone steps and barely had time to knock. The door opened and Vilela appeared to him. "Sorry, I couldn't come sooner. What's up?" Vilela did not answer him, had decomposed features. He signaled to him, and they went into a small inner room. Entering, Camilo could not stifle a scream of terror. In the background on the sofa, Rita was dead and covered in blood. Vilela grabbed him by the collar and with 2 revolver shots, stretched him dead on the floor. The end.